are talking Dante's Hotel, directed and co-written by Anthony C. Ferrate, and it's got a pretty good cast. You've got AnnaLynne McCord, Judd Nelson, Moon Bloodgood and Ted Raimi. And this is a movie produced by the Asylum for the Tubi streaming service. And it's actually got a fairly kind of interesting plot, I would say. Now, it focuses on this hotel that is just before New Year's Eve, and there is an events planner played by AnnaLynne McCord's character, and she is an ex-alcoholic who is kind of like got this big opportunity to kind of like organise this kind of New Year's Eve party for this hotel for the manager of Ted Raimi of this kind of hotel. But this hotel has a little bit of a history. Every kind of 12 years there seems to be a number of people that have kind of gone missing, and this kind of mysterious guest at the hotel seems to be somehow involved, and it is now the 12-year anniversary of the last kind of disappearances, so we expect a new kind of rash of people to go missing, and there seems to be a hooded figure lurking around in this party that could well be Father Time himself. What will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. So let's discuss what I think works in this movie's favour. Now, this being produced by the Asylum, it might put some people off because, let's be honest, they churn out movies quickly and cheaply, and then often they are very kind of light on plots, very kind of unoriginal, just lots of kind of conversations in rooms, a little bit of kind of CGI monster here and there, and they all more or less follow the kind of the same plot. So I'm pleased to say this movie actually feels like it's a little bit more thought been gone behind it, I would say. The plot here is, you know, it involves a lot of kind of like moving parts, so to speak. So it's actually quite an interesting story with kind of like different characters involved in different ways. There's a bit of a mystery. There's kind of like this quite kind of fun visuals and things like this, and a little bit of like, you know, intrigue, I would say. So the actual plot here is, dare I say it, somewhat original. Oh my god, I'm saying this for an Asylum movie. I know. Anyway. So yeah, quite an interesting kind of idea. I mean, it takes elements that you've kind of obviously seen before in other films like Shining and things like this, but nonetheless, it's somewhat of a kind of a fresh take, a New Year's Eve kind of horror movie, really. So you know, it's kind of quite fun. And as I've mentioned, you've got a pretty good cast here of recognisable names, and not the kind of the usual kind of Asylum, you know, Danny Trejo's and Eric Roberts and Tom Sizemore's that you'll kind of get trotted out on seemingly every other Asylum movie. So it's nice to see some, I think, maybe more well-respected actors, I would say, if I'm honest with you. I know AnnaLynne McCord had a little bit of controversy over the COVID time, but, you know, I really liked her in 68 Kill. And, you know, so you've got some reasonable kind of talent in regards to the kind of the acting. I think the VFX are not bad for a, you know, an Asylum movie. There's a mix of practical and kind of CGI. The Father Time kind of, I mean, it looks like a guy in a big suit, admittedly, but I still kind of quite enjoyed it. He kind of looks like, I think the idea being here is that he's mistaken for someone in a costume. So it kind of works as a kind of like, he looks kind of quite menacing, but if you were at a party and you saw someone kind of dressed up like this, you would probably just think it's someone dressed up like that. So it kind of worked, I would say, and, you know, they've made him like super tall and everything, and he's not just got the kind of the generic, like, because in this movie they sort of say that Father Time and the Grim Reaper are basically the same kind of person, or same entity, I should say. So he looks kind of more like just like an emaciated kind of human and stuff. So I quite dug it. And like I said, there are a few kind of twists and turns in regards to kind of the plot here, which I thought was kind of quite fun, and you know, different sort of characters. We've got the Moon Bloodgood being this kind of police detective, and her boss used to be, you know, did a case in the same hotel and things like that. So there's, you know, there's a reasonable amount to the actual kind of movie. What doesn't work? So it is an Asylum movie. Inevitably, that does mean it is a little bit on the cheaper side. It does kind of show at times, but, you know, I would still say the scale is bigger than most kind of CGI films. You've got a lot of people dancing in this kind of party. There's quite a few external shots of this kind of hotel. It looks like it is filmed in some type of hotel. So, you know, it looks alright, but there are elements that do kind of still portray the kind of the asylum level, the kind of the CGI enhancements to the kind of the hotel to make it say like Dante's Hotel. It's actually called something else. It's just that lights go off and it says Dante's Hotel. But anyway, so yeah, there's a little bit of kind of cheapness to it still. The VFX, they're a mixed bag. I said we do get a bit of CGI kind of towards the end here, but you know, there you go. It is what it is. It's an asylum movie. You don't expect super good CGI, do you, with these things? So there you go. I mean, I like this. I like the kind of the idea of the story here. It's quite kind of like, you know, lots of twists and turns. I will say I do think there's some kind of characters that make somewhat kind of strange decisions in the movie that don't really make logical sense, but it needs to happen for the plot to kind of move forward. You know, people do things that you think, that's a little questionable, or you know, for example, I'll get invited to this VIP room, which is basically the kind of the kill room for this entity. There's like people get invited in there. The Grim Reaper needs to kill 12 people, so he's giving out these VIP tickets to various guests to go in there, and there's like no one else in there, and you think, this looks like a little bit of a lame VIP room. You will just go back out and go to the actual party, but people know they'll hang around and not be in the party just because they need to, you know, the privacy to get killed and things, you know. So that's just one example. There's little kind of like silly decisions here and there. And I would say I do think the movie's climax is a little convoluted. In fact, I would say it's quite convoluted. It gets quite chaotic, and lots of things are happening, but I have to say I think it kind of starts to buckle under its weight a little bit. But it's quite an interesting, like, New Year's Eve horror movie that I think may be worth watching. We don't mind some kind of low budget sort of movie action with a pretty good cast and an interesting idea. I'll give it an above average score of 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.